Hello, we're on. All right. I sometimes comment on some stuff, not not often. I used to. I used to get into a lot of like internet battles with all sorts of people, all sorts of beliefs, about all sorts of subjects. You name it, man. It was wild. I spent a lot of energy doing those things back in the days, and I guess I didn't understand things quite as much as I thought I did. And but I'm talking about years ago, when kind of like YouTube took off, and it's. I guess I was very enthusiastic about, yeah, just like whenever people usually realize something and find out something, they're so incredibly enthusiastic. They want to go around and let everybody else know what they just figured out to be true. So it's like, slowly, if you're wise, slowly, if you're smart and wise, not so much smart, but wise. It comes sometimes with years. It comes sometimes with persistence of keep trying to knock this wall down, realizing that you're just gonna have to walk over it or go, around it some way, instead of keep punching it in until your knuckles bleed and your hands break. So, yeah, I used to do that, and got nowhere. I mean, got somewhere, okay. I realized that, certain things and certain people are it's just not, no point. No point. Keep it to yourself. Be an example. I mean, as far as it goes, I'm sure there's some things you can push and, make certain changes. But then when you look back, you think like, are those changes really as solid and lasting? Or their foundation is sort of forced, which means that they don't have, solid foundation, and they will crumble. So a lot of times those changes seem solid, but they really are temporary. No matter how much how much longer they're gonna last than some others, they still will be outlasted by the events, by circumstances, opinions, and so-called truths. So that's it. So, but often online, this is what I come across. Just the other day, I commented on something very menial. It's like really doesn't have much to do with me, honestly, personally, and as it doesn't with a whole lot of people in the world. But I commented on one of the sprinters in Tour de France that they're not being fair. They're cutting people off, and they should be held up to the same standards as some of the other sprinters that get so easily reprimanded and rebuked, even disqualified and fined, penalized and stuff. So anyway, somebody said, somebody just responded, bitter. It's like, oh, you're bitter. It's like, okay. This is I'm started talking about this because this is like a typical thing in our world. If somebody presents some facts, and there will always be other people who will question that, but instead of questioning, say, well, what do you mean? Well, how come? Like, well, I didn't notice that. No, they're just gonna go straight into like, somewhat name calling. I don't know if that's even name calling. I don't really take it as name calling. But are you bitter? Like, no, I'm not bitter. I just see it for what it is. It's like, why do I have to be bitter? But it's like, oh, you're so jaded. You see problems and issues and everything. You keep ranting about stuff. Like, yeah, I do. Why not? I mean, will they ever improve if we just leave them be? Most likely not. Like, let's say you have a neighbor who keeps listening to really loud music, right? And every single day you come home, you have to put up with it for like days, hours, months, even years sometimes. So you're just supposed to accept it and be like, well, this motherfucker is bothering the crap out of me, you know? But I'll just be quiet. And I'm gonna be really angry at home and become really passive aggressive. But I'm not gonna say anything because then they'll think I'm bitter or jaded, that I just don't like fun and happy people who love to listen to music really loud. You know, this is one of the examples in my life I experienced many times, that the more quiet you are, the longer you put up with it, usually the worse it gets. And I mean, if people are not, you know, reminded, they think it's fine. They think, you know, oh, who doesn't like music? I mean, well, maybe I don't like your music, or maybe it's just that I don't like music at a specific time when I come home, or maybe I don't feel good, and so why should I put up with it? Just because you feel like it? Cool. You know what? They have this invention in this world. It's amazing. It's called headphones. You should try them out. See how nice it is. Because your music won't be bothered by any surrounding noises. And guess what? Nobody around you is going to be bothered by your music. Yeah, win-win solution. Let's say that's just one case, right? I mean, that's one very specific example. But you know, people like to say, "Oh, you're bitter." Sure. So every time somebody wants to discuss something factual, immediately they're bitter. Which in reality is just, you know, deflecting and kind of finding the way to mock the person, you know. Oh, you're bitter. Like, yeah, I'm so bitter. Just because I took, like 2 minutes of my time out of my entire day to share an opinion I have on something. I have to be bitter for that? Come on, guys. You know, this is like, I mean, if everybody has such thin skin, I mean, what should I then do when somebody says, are you bitter? Or like, oh, you're on drugs. Or like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you're stupid. It's like childish stuff. Like, I don't care about it, but it's like, really? That's all you can muster up? You're bitter? Oh, you're so stupid. Oh, who cares? Why do you care about it? Like, when you care about it enough to come back and write to me. So I really don't think that many people see themselves in what position they are when they're trying to basically mock other people because somebody has an opinion that they just don't like it. They don't like how somebody stands on a certain position, you know, or how what they stand up, what they stand for, and so, you know, oh, you know, and then they say, this is the other thing I also get sometimes. Oh, you see how emotional you are. Like, wait, I'm emotional? So let's say I state a few facts from where I was seeing, looking, hearing, you know. So then I'm bitter. Like, wait a second. So we got from observations and witnessing certain things, certain events, certain people doing certain things, going about a certain way. But now I'm bitter and emotional because somebody wants, you know, to paint, I don't know, your opinion or your observation into some kind of emotion. So, and this is why this is, you know, this is why we have this positivity and negativity, you know, these two drastic and extreme poles pulling people apart and clashing them, boom, together, and then once they're collided and they're in pieces, they pull them apart again. That's why this is happening. It's kind of funny when you think about it. It's funny, but it's also very stupid and very how to say that, immature, unwise. I don't know, that's not a word, but you know, like, it's not wise. It's so ridiculous to associate certain things immediately with emotions And that's why our society just can't grow. It can't get to a certain point in time when people will stop taking things personal and just be like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. Where did you see that? Or how did you see that happen? Or, no, they have to attack you first. And then they expect you then if you respond and you say, hey, what's going on here? Like, who are you to me? They say, oh, you're so emotional, you see how you're like, no, excuse me. You're the one emotional because you are dragging these things back and forth and you play along. So sometimes on purpose I would respond and I keep responding to see what kind of like stupid reaction do I get. Oh yeah, you're this, you're that, blah 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 blah. Like, so how did we get from that to talking about something completely different? You see, that's the whole point. But then, God forbid, you switch topics and say, okay, so what about this? And they say, oh, you see, you're switching subject because you have no argument. Like, so, okay, I get it. So you see, so that's why we can't come to any conclusions together, to any reasonable conclusions, logical. And when we do attempt to do that, we have to involve more factors because sometimes things are not as black and white as they appear. But then, then we're told like, oh, you're jumping all over, you're all over the place, because you don't have an argument for the first thing, even though you already expressed your argument, but they just didn't understand it. They didn't even take, most of the time people don't take their time to actually, read through stuff. So it's like a constant bouncing, like just bouncing off the wall. It's like, bam, it comes straight back. You will notice that when people immediately answer you, it's just like, hey, wait a second. Have you actually read my comment? Have you actually, given yourself, I don't know, even a few seconds before you said, I'm gonna answer, this. Or you're just like, oh, I don't like this. Boom, I gotta answer this quickly. As quickly as possible to let this person know what I think of them. It's like, So this is what I see as a huge lack. You can call this a rant or whatever you want to call it. It's just an observation, and it would be much, much easier in our society. People wouldn't be taking things immediately so personal. Today I go, I park right when I come to work, and I have to park quite far because I'm one of the last people that come to work. And so this guy goes to lunch, and so the parking is available right underneath the window from where my office is. So I run downstairs, move my car, park it at that spot that just opened, and everything was fine. Now 10 minutes later, this guy comes up and comes to my office. He's like, hey, I'm only going to lunch, and I come back and you're parked there. As soon as I turned my back, went to lunch, you ran downstairs and parked your car in my spot. And I was like, whoa, what? It's like, it was funny to me because I thought he was joking. And because we were on, high basis and how we doing, blah, 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 not small talk. And then he's like serious. He's like, oh, no. It's like, don't do that, It's like, I only went to lunch, and, it's like, I said, oh, okay, well, I didn't know these parking spots are designated. Well, they are not, but, when I'm there, I need, to put my trailer, and I need that space, and it's like, okay, dude, like, but you left. And I'm not a mind reader, and I don't know, maybe next time leave a note, don't park in this spot, which is ridiculous anyways. Now, people are so entitled. It's like, okay, it's this spot, who cares? Somebody last time damaged my car because where I live, I parked in a spot, get this, completely normal, legal parking. And this girl who's completely obsessed with her car, and also, by the way, that's like a funny story. She screws up every car that she gets, and all her cars are basically nice, decent cars, but the side note is like she's into these sugar daddies, and she has a bunch of like she's got guys coming over with Maserati and Porsche, and one time with I don't know what this is, Lamborghini or Ferrari, whatever, like. So she's obviously a hoochie. Yeah, I said it. So anyways, and then she got so upset that I found parking available where she usually parks. But it's not like usually. It's not like there's one spot available. There's like a whole block, and around the building there's other blocks. I just happened to be, to find that spot. I parked it. Nobody was parked there before me. So I made sure that, I parked correctly, I come out next day and she's yelling at me, screaming how crazy, how stupid I am. What do I think I have a fancy car? I have to park it in a certain way. It's like, oh my God, first of all, that's you. It's like so stupid. And she's yelling at me, and I'm like, you're making no sense. Please don't talk to me. I don't have time for you right now, for your shit and all that. And bye. And just so that I realized hours later, when I actually went somewhere, that I had a dent in my hood. Now, then things got much more serious. Of course, so far, the investigation is still on, and I wasn't able to prove that it was her. But I mean, you put two and two together. It would be very, very hard that it was somebody else. Not saying I don't have enemies. But yeah, it's funny. It's like people are so entitled. Of course, I was very upset for about 2 days, 3 days. I mean, I would have I don't even want to say it. Doesn't matter. It's just the ego kicks in. It's a car. It's a nice car. I had to work for it really hard, both of me, my wife and myself. And it's just so infuriating that somebody does it over a stupid parking, And this is what I mean. This entitlement, the same. It boils down. You would say, but how is this related to what you started talking about? Opinions and comments and responses from other people. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, it does. It comes on and it comes around full circle. It comes right back to entitlement. And maybe I didn't exactly know how I'm gonna end this, but this is the issue. Entitlement. It's the entitlement. Somebody thinks of something, and they think that if you go against it, you challenge it, they have to start calling you names. They have to start, demeaning your character. They have to put you in a position where they see themselves as more and you as less. Easy. Simple. I mean, we can all do that. That's so easy. But it takes some wisdom to actually step back and be like, well, I don't like what they said. I really don't like it. It's kind of insulting, or maybe it's kind of like, it's annoying, it's irritating. It's hard to take it in, but alright, let me see. Why would they say that? Why would they say that about me? So you see, this is the approach that we should all take. This is the approach that I encourage every one of you to take, because then that's how we become reasonable people, reasonable creatures, and that's how we can work together. But because we are in this, cat fight all the time, cat fight. That's what it is. It's so catty, It's like, oh, he said that, so I'm gonna say this. Don't do that. I wouldn't have done that if you didn't do this. And it's like, it's so stupid. Our society is like a very, very primitive, and with that, very childish one. And it's disappointing because I'm not disappointed because I'm so insulted or, because it's just irritating. It's just like, oh my God, it's like, it's aggravating. To the point like, are you serious? You have all these, what makes you human, and yet you're throwing it away. You're wasting it completely. You're not doing anything with it. You behave like a chimp in a zoo. And that's why I say, most of the time, I feel like I'm in a zoo. Am I ever like that? I try not to. Honestly, yes, there are moments, silent moments, when I think stuff to myself, what I would do to somebody, or how I would, avenge some stupid thing that somebody did to me because they didn't like my, criticism or my reminders of something that they're doing that it's bothersome to me or to my home or to my property. Sure, I mean, I'd gladly sometimes deal with people, bare hands, and I'm not so much into weapons, but yeah. But I mean, where do I get with that? I mean, there's so many such people that drive me crazy every single day. That's all your life can become about. Honestly, if you respond to every one of those things, and sometimes that's why I do sports. I lift weights. It doesn't always help. Sometimes it infuriates me even more because when you go on a bike and you push and you get that adrenaline within you flowing, and then you get more pumped and you get more to like, oh, what I will do now, and so the best way is to try to neutralize it. You can tire yourself at the gym, you can tire yourself outside on a bike, you can go for a run, you can sprint, you can do those things, and they will help you to some extent. But how you deal with that anger and that resentment within you deep down, it's a very different type of a beast to deal with, and that's the unfortunate thing, is that most people succumb to it, and that's why we have the world that we have. I mean, they become primitive, they start cussing each other out, it gets really ugly, and really nothing, like our true nature, our divine spark. And I don't mean to sound idealistic, but there has to be some kind of ideal if you were to ever reach that potential within you where you can be above these small stupid things. I mean, okay, look, even somebody denting my hood, like I actually didn't go and fix it, really, because the car drives, and it sucks that somebody had to do that. I mean, try that on me. I mean, don't try it on the car. The car cannot defend itself. But try it on me. I mean, if you really have something against me, you know where I live. Like, come to me. It's like, and this is not me being like a challenger, like I'm so tough I can challenge anybody. No, it's not that. It's just, it's so hypocritical. Not hypocritical, no, I didn't mean to say that. It's so, like, asinine and so sneaky and so conniving, so ugly and wicked that you would go and damage somebody's property because you don't like them or because you don't like something they did. Oh my God, it's so stupid. So stupid, and it's so weak. So in that case, the person lost, not me. I won in that situation, and they lost. So if you know how to look at it that way, then you can, slowly. Yeah, there's anger, there's resentment at the beginning, there's rage, and you try to water it down until you have no response, and you just be like, they lost their cool over something. They know they're powerless in this situation, so the only thing they could do is like a child that just lashed out at something that can't hit back. And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. I mean, so what? Should I guard my car now, like 24/7, standing outside and looking at a car, who's passing by, what they're gonna do, and who likes me, who doesn't like me? Or, from now on I'll be super nice to everybody, even if they're really shitty to me. No, it's not gonna happen. I don't budge, I don't care. I mean, cool, break down the car, whatever. Burn it if you want to. And what can I do? What, like, should I take your head off? Is that gonna fix the situation? It's not gonna do anything. I mean, it will destroy me. So, and this is the reason why I stopped responding to people on the internet as much as I used to. So I even got off Facebook. I got off a lot of platforms. here when somebody posts something, I usually don't go back and forth. Except it was a funny thing when I posted my videos working out and somebody said that I was on steroids, which is like extremely funny because like I'm really, I mean, compared to some guy on steroids, I'm really skinny. You know, I'm not skinny when you see me all pumped at the gym and stuff, and I'm not skinny per se. I'm not bony, but I'm like not one of those pumped up guys where you can clearly and immediately tell that's not natural. So, not one of those people. So that was extremely funny, and I just had to throw some stuff out there, and it's like, but yeah, there's a lot of platforms I used to be engaged into and associated with, and you know, really up there, you know, all the time trying to prove something to somebody, and it's such a waste of time, such a waste of time, such a waste of energy, and it's a waste now. However, in that time it wasn't a waste, since he brought me here to this understanding and this perception of what that all really is. And that's why, you know, debates are a funny thing. People say, oh, let's have a debate. And I'm like, well, what do we get out of it? I mean, we're going to try to sway sides. That's it. Like, we're going to try to sway people left or right. I mean, there's nothing else. Nothing else. We're not gonna make people like both sides, or we're not gonna make people, you know, somehow magically all step to only one side. That's never gonna happen. You know, and at the same time, people won't be magically somehow suddenly on both sides at the same time, because that's impossible. That's impossible. You can't be like, this car is red, and somebody says, no, it's yellow. And they say, okay, it's red, yellow. Like, what? So it's orange. No, it's red, yellow. Like, but that's not a color. Yeah, but for the sake of the argument, we can just call it, you know, yellow, red. Or red, yellow. It's like, what is that? You see, that's what I'm saying. This is kind of stupid stuff. I'm going into like really, you know, the most bizarre examples, but that's sort of what the debates are. They don't prove anything. They really don't prove anything. Somebody who's been in doubt and they've already been searching for something, and then one side proves that to them, or seemingly proves it. I mean, that person was already on the fence to begin with. So they didn't need much. It's not like, oh, I was totally into this, but now I'm completely somewhere else. No, you were not. You're totally not. If you're honest with yourself, you know you've been looking into some stuff. You know you heard about it before. At least heard about it before. You gave it at least like a second, you know, of a thought. It's not like you came here, you know nothing about anything, and somebody suddenly said, hey, this is exactly like this, and you go like, yeah, it is. You're right. Nah. We're not such creatures. We're pretty reasonable. We weigh sides left and right, up and down all the time, you know, until we sort of kind of try to figure out stuff on our own, you know, and then being swayed by certain influences. You know how you work. You know yourself better than what I can explain to you. But yeah, so that's why I remove myself from some stuff, and if I sometimes challenge somebody, or if I actually respond to somebody, it's kind of like to see how much further can they go, how much of a broader perspective are they even capable of handling. Okay, you can throw one thing at me, and then I open up the issue and I say, okay, but so this issue entails this. So how much of this stuff around it, you know? And then they say, well, you know, now you're switching the topic, or you know, because you're so emotional about it. Like, no. Stick to the topic, okay? But now consider these factors. Factor these things in, and tell me if you still have the same opinion, okay? Because like I said, things are never just black and white. Never. There's many things in between. So it's really hard to judge certain situations, or just about any situation, from only one side, and be basically righteous, or be correct, or punctual, you know, accurate. It's impossible. That's why you see you guys who are heavily into debating and debates. I mean, you do you, whatever. I tell you what I tell you, and you can ponder on it and contemplate what that actually means and observe it. Listen to some debates. A lot of you who are debating a lot are so busy and so engaged into your own debating that you don't even hear and see yourself. But you can see yourself in others that debate each other. Just look at that mirror and you'll see how wasteful and useless that is. Not sometimes, most of the time. I mean, I honestly have never seen a debate that would be like, wow, this was 100% success. This was amazing. No. Yeah, so let's not get emotional, all right? Or try to, water those emotions down, kind of wear them out, It's okay that you feel angry. It's okay that you're, enraged with certain things. That's fine. Allow yourself to feel that. That's, don't be denying it to yourself. Don't be repressing your emotions. That's really bad. Because then one day you explode and you cut somebody's head off. And they say, oh my God, we didn't know what happened to this guy. He was always so nice. Because you kept everything inside and you didn't let yourself feel that and you never expressed it. Don't do that. That's not healthy. Don't pretend you're this amazing guy who can always handle everything. You can't. Just take it for once that there are situations that you just can't handle properly. You do what you can. All right, but don't let the emotions run you and define you with that one action that you can sometimes, or most of the time, never take back. That's the scary moment, you see. When I used to get angry when I was younger, I would punch things, all right? And people are like, oh my God, you're so scary. And some of my girlfriends, and I say, look, would you prefer me hitting you or I break this thing? I mean, yeah, it may be scary, but I did that because I did not want to touch you in the moment when I got so angry that I couldn't control myself. Alright? So, if you have an anger issue sometimes, punch something, break it. I mean, it can be replaced. But don't do that on a person because that's a terrible thing. Because you'll probably be sorry after you cool off. And if you break something, you can damage something valuable. Go for something that is cheap. Listen, you can judge me on that and you can say, oh, what an asshole, or this guy must be terrible to be around when he gets angry or something. No, it's not like that. I'm just giving you a very realistic advice that most people never want to give you, especially not in the circles of people who pretend to be super spiritual and all that stuff, alright? I don't pretend. I am, you get what you see, alright? Yeah, I get mad.